So there's a feeling almost every senior executive I've worked with has experienced. Almost none of them will admit it. What's that? It shows up after a major promotion, or a big exit, or a milestone you spent 20 years chasing. So the celebration ends, everyone goes home, and the feeling you expected, that sense of having finally arrived, isn't there. Hey, my name is Raju Panjwani, 18 years in senior leadership roles at global bank, Morgan Stanley, managing director, highest level you can go on that ladder. The last decade, I've been coaching founders or senior executives at Fortune 500 companies, and I know this feeling from both sides of having been there. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you what's actually happening, why setting a new goal won't fix it, why one simple practice you can try just this week, you'll start to understand it. It all began with one phone call, December 1, 1999, Mumbai, India. The phone rang at 5:30 in the morning. We had landlines those days. Of course, I was fast asleep. I picked up, said hello in my groggy morning voice, and the voice at the other end. Hi, Raju. This is John Mack. I'm sitting here with my nominating committee colleagues. We're calling to say congratulations. You've been promoted to managing director this year. You can go back to sleep now. Wow. Of course, I couldn't go back to sleep. My wife was already up, hugging me, wide awake, kissing me, celebrating in a way that only she could. And I was in shock, of course. See, 20 years of work by that time, I think I was 42 or something, the kind of job title I had been chasing since I was 23 when I landed in New York from India back then. I had 4 jobs until I got to Morgan Stanley. I had a global risk audit. I had just finished building a whole team in India at this time of this promotion, working with people from all over the world. I mean, I had been with the firm by that time, maybe 9 years. Build real systems, real results. Everyone around me treated me like I had it finally made. And I did too, frankly. Well, a few nights later, when the calls and the messages stopped coming from the US and friends and celebrations were almost over, I sat alone one evening. It might have been a few days after this. And I noticed something that I was not supposed to notice. It felt like a regular Tuesday. I want to say that I want to stay with that for a moment. Because that small, quiet observation, this feels like a real regular Tuesday, turned out to be more important than the promotion itself. See, I had been waiting for that moment to feel like something specific would happen, like a door would close on everything that came before that, and a window opening into something new. Well, instead, it felt nothing. It was just another evening. And here's what's strange. I didn't tell anyone, not my colleagues, not my friends, not even my wife. In that moment, I didn't. Because I didn't have any words for it, no language for it, and I wasn't sure I was allowed to really feel it. Because for years afterwards, I kept moving, went back to New York, new role, bigger role, 40th floor office, new plans, new businesses, new ideas. I assumed somewhere along the way that feeling would catch up with me. When every milestone before this or that had promised me that feeling of having arrived, as I said earlier. Well, it didn't. Many, many years later, I started having a particular kind of conversation quietly, behind closed doors, with senior leaders everywhere I went, meetings, New York, San Francisco, LA, wherever I was. It was uncomfortable, right? And I see that with these leaders. So I'll give you an example. Not long ago, a CEO said something to me about one of his senior leaders. He said, B is doing really well, but he keeps saying he's not being recognized enough or getting paid enough. I knew exactly what was happening. I had been working as a coach with this B for a few months now, 18, 20 sessions with him. Brilliant guy, calm, confident in every meeting he walked into, delivered constantly, and I had enough people telling me that he was amazing. I think he had oversight over maybe 5,000 or 6,000 people in the organization. And he cannot stop thinking about whether anyone truly sees it. Not because something's wrong with him. That's our conditioning, right? This is how we think. But because in his whole career, he has believed one thing. If I do great work, people will notice, my boss will notice, my colleagues will notice. The work speaks for itself. So he keeps delivering. And then he waits. And he delivers again. and delivers more and waits more. And the recognition never quite lands the way that he needed it to because he has no words for it. See, I've had some version of this conversation with more senior executives that I could care to count. CEOs, founders, executives who are managing thousands of people like this guy. People who, by every measure, have got it made. And almost none of them have ever said it out loud until they said it to me. That's why I love this one-on-one coaching, because it's a safe place for people to share. So I want to share something that I have come to understand, because it's the most useful thing I can give you in 7 minutes, however long this video is. Here's the part that nobody tells you. The feeling you're working towards, that sense of having arrived, having made it, being enough, of the inside finally matching the outside, it was never going to come from where you were looking. Seriously, it's not going to come from where you're looking. It doesn't live in a job title. It doesn't live in a bonus that you might get. It doesn't live in even a decision-making seat at the table, call it. It never did. See, I've been in those rooms, and I'm telling you, that's where I'm coming from. No one has ever asked you to stop and look at it. So you don't. Listen, I'm not saying the promotion is not real. Yes, what you built is real. What I built was real. The praise from people is real. But none of it can ever fix something it was never going to reach in the first place. That gap that most successful people are trying to close is not between where they are and where they're going. The gap is between the version of them that everyone sees and the version that is actually living their life. You see, I recently spoke at a conference. It was the same thing. The gap between where they are, where they need to go, isn't the answer. It's the gap between where they are truly inside of them and where they need to be. That's the gap. So those two versions of you can grow really far apart over the years because, who you are versus what you want to be, without anybody noticing. Even you don't notice it. As in my case, I didn't notice what was going on. But here's how it happens. You get really, really good at reading the room in a meeting. You know the energies, how they flow. And so you know what to say. It's almost automatic. You know what people need from you, and you give it to them. At being the leader your team needs at the time that they need you in a certain way, you deliver. The executive your board is expecting, you deliver. The provider your family is counting on, you deliver. See, these are not small skills. Please don't get me wrong. These are everything that you've been working for. They built everything you possess. But that's not who you are. Because somewhere along the way, that performance becomes automatic. It runs on autopilot. And at some point, the autopilot becomes the whole story. Because you start identifying with your work, with your title, with all of the stuff, and then it happens, and then what's next, right? You stop checking in with the real you underneath all of it. Because the real you is not needed for the next meeting because you've been on autopilot. So one day, you hit the milestone you've been chasing, as in my case, chasing for some big title somewhere, and you keep growing to that title, you go to the next job, and you do the same thing. So one day you hit the milestone you've been chasing, and in the quiet after the congratulations stop, like in my case, a question shows up that you don't have an answer for. Is this it? Is this it? See, most people will answer that question by setting a new goal, a bigger role, a bigger title. Maybe set up a new division, go to a new division, even change jobs, get a new job, or move to another city, or whatever, or your next deal. Now, that's not wrong, only because that's how you've been trained. But it's not the answer either. It's just putting the question off. If it comes to you, even if it comes to you, is it or is this it? We put the answer off or put the question off because you don't want to hear the answer. You don't know the answer. Because the real question isn't about what comes next at work or at home. It's about something no new job has ever been able to fix. Listen, if any of this is landing for you, here's one thing you can do this week. It'll take you less than 5 minutes. Okay? Just one little practice. Pick one important decision you made in the past month or past week. Pick a time, but something real, either at work or at home. One important decision you made during this time. And ask yourself one question. Was that actually me making that decision? You could say, yeah, it was. No, listen. Was that actually me making the decision, or was I just doing what was expected of me? Don't try to fix anything. Don't judge what you find out, but just sit with this question honestly. Is that clear? Because most people never ask that question. And the answer tells you more about where you actually are than any performance review will ever tell you. Hope that's clear. All right, one more thing I want to leave you. I said one practice, but one feeling. Let's talk about feeling. That feeling that didn't show up the night of my promotion back then, that wasn't a problem. It was telling me that the next part of my growth was not in the next role or my next title. It was actually in knowing who I am when nobody needs me. Not my team, not my family, not my boss. And that is the work that is worth doing. Listen, if this resonated with you at all, I make videos like this every week now. Subscribe so you don't miss any. And if you want to talk through what this looks like in your own life, there's a link below to book a free call with me, just to catch up, see what's what. Thank you for watching.